but we are required to make sure that people can understand us online. And so if we're having issues transmitting, then we're on. Yes. Hey, hopa. All right. Okay. Our interpreter will now give instructions for how to access translation. Itzel?
Bienvenidos a la reunión de la mesa directiva escolar de Redwood City del 25 de marzo. Si necesita interpretación español, por favor llame al 978-990-5137 y marque el 837-7041 y el signo de gato o de número. Y si asiste a la reunión en persona, solicite un transmisor que se encuentre en la parte posterior de la sala. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Itzel. All right, just so all participants are aware, at the direction of the board, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared with the public. We generally try to post our meeting videos on YouTube about a day or two after. So welcome, everybody. We have a big meeting tonight, a lot to get through. We'll be hearing from our auditor, Ida Bailey, who will be presenting our annual audit for the 2024-2025 school year. We'll be hearing from both Taft and Garfield on their schools and school plans for student achievement, which we call SIPSs. We heard from Roosevelt, MIT, and Hoover 2 weeks ago, so this will take us to 5 of our 12 schools covered, with more to come in April. We're going to consider the second interim budget, our required mid-year update on our financial position and projections for the next 2 years. We'll discuss drone policy briefly and tackle a large consent agenda with board policy updates, school field trips, personnel items, and routine business. Finally, we have some information items, including a presentation about the current state of AI-assisted learning tools from an outside expert and Connect Charter's audit. The board encourages all members of the public to participate and provide comment on issues of concern, regardless of whether or not they're on the agenda. If you are here in person, please fill out a speaker comment card. You don't have to give your legal name, but if you'd like for us to follow up with you, please consider adding contact information. If you're online with us on Zoom, you can just raise your hand and we'll call on you based on your Zoom name. If you're speaking on a topic on the agenda, you'll be called at the time the item is being considered. If it's not on the agenda, we will call on you in the public comment portion near the beginning of our meeting. To be fair to all speakers, comment is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. You'll see a countdown clock on the front of the podium. If you're curious about what else we're going to discuss at future board meetings, please check out. There we go. Please check out the agenda item towards the end that has a nice PDF on our upcoming schedule of board agenda items and topics. And as a reminder, if you'd like to put something on the agenda for us to discuss, you'll need to get that request to the board president, that's me, and the superintendent at least 10 days in advance of the board meeting. Dr. Baker and I will confer and decide on when or if to place it on the agenda. And of course, you should feel free to write your thoughts at any time to any of us, and feel free to write to us in Spanish as well. And now for our student-led Pledge of Allegiance, we're having Yvonne Valdivia. It's a Garfield 5th grader. We have 2. 2. All right. All right. The flag's over here. Let's...
Hello.
He's a 3rd grader in our school. Awesome.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. All right. Next up, any changes proposed to the agenda? I would like to propose that item 17.1, the informational presentation on AI technology, be pulled up to after school presentations, but before second interim. So that would place it between 13.2 and 13.3. Are people okay with pulling that up, having it after the school presentations, but before budget? Uh, 17.1, that's under informational items. It's the update on AI-assisted literacy and numeracy. We have an expert online who will be presenting. I'm just hoping to not keep him super late. Are people okay with that change? Okay, great. Any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, would someone like to move to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
No, they didn't even let her do it.
Oh, Okay. Are we all set? Yeah. All right. So with that, we will move on to public comment for things that are not on the agenda. And I do have some speaker comment cards here. And first up, I have Christy Herrera.
Remember to turn this on this time. My name is Christy Herrera. I've been teaching kindergarten in Redwood City for 24 years, 23 of them at Hoover. Bear with me as I connect this to education. How many of you like medical drama shows like ER, The Pit, Grey's Anatomy? Anybody? Okay. Anybody ever been to the emergency room for any reason, like an accident, an illness, or something unexpected? Anybody? Okay. So a kindergarten classroom today is very much like an ER waiting room. Each child arrives with different needs. Some are ready to learn, others require immediate intensive support. Some have diagnosed learning differences. Many more have needs that are just as real, but not yet formally identified. In one classroom, a teacher may teach foundational reading skills while supporting other students with speech delays, emotional regulation challenges, attention difficulties, trauma, or developmental delays. And like an ER doctor, we triage. Before teaching even begins, we're constantly asking, who needs me right now? Who can wait? Who's in crisis? Who's quietly falling behind? And here's where that reality becomes urgent. Across much of our district, kindergarten classes range from 18 to 22 students. But in our two classes at Hoover, we each have 27, and tomorrow I receive my 28th student. That already exceeds what research recommends for early learners, and it doesn't begin to capture the intensity of need in a community like ours, with high numbers of English learners, students experiencing economic hardship, trauma, and students with special needs in general ed. When we look at neighboring districts like Menlo Park, San Carlos, Belmont Redwood Shores, we see that even when class sizes look similar, there's often more built-in supports, more aides, more consistent help in the classroom. And that difference matters. In Redwood City, we're serving a higher number of students with complex needs, both diagnosed and undiagnosed challenges. We are not simply teaching more students. We're being asked to meet greater and more diverse needs, often without the consistent support required to do so effectively. And there's still only one teacher. Now, in an emergency room, that would be unthinkable. Doctors rely on full teams. But in our classrooms, receiving support means jumping through a gauntlet of hoops first. What happens? Students in the most immediate distress receive the majority of attention because they have to. But that means that other students wait, sometimes too long, sometimes quietly. Ever walks away from that feeling okay. In my 24 years of teaching, I have never seen this combination of class size and level of need. It is not sustainable and it's not equitable for our students. So I'm asking you to help us take action. Prioritize smaller class sizes in this district, across the district, not just at individual school sites. Ensure consistent instructional support in every kindergarten classroom, and recognize that our current class sizes are no longer matching the reality of student needs in Redwood City. It's not just about teacher workload, it's about whether every student gets access to learning, support, and success. Right now, our classrooms are being forced into triage, and they were never meant to function like an emergency room. Our students deserve better than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next comment card is from Henry Howe Tower.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed board members and trustees. My name is Henry Tower, and I am a dad of my daughter, Amelia Tower, who's going to be entering Orion Alternative Public School. I like to this emphasis is basically on Play Thrive after school program. And let's start by reading the letter. So, dear esteemed and dedicated board members and trustees of Redwood City School District, I'm here and also writing this letter to inform you of the current situation regarding the lack of space for Play Thrive after school program and accommodation for the young transitional kindergarten school-age children attending Orion Alternative Public School. I'd like to formally request additional spacing, support, and expansion for this Play Thrive after school program, as this is necessary for fostering culture and language skills for children. My wife and I were both immigrants, descendants of Taiwanese heritage, and so is hence our child Amelia, also a descendant, but of American nationality. Though my wife and I are both descendants of the Taiwanese heritage, we grew up differently as we were raised in different nations. My wife was born in the US, raised in Taiwan, and I was born in Taiwan, raised in the US, and grew up in New York. So I identify with the American tradition. Um, I see the stark difference between me and myself, my wife. I'm more embedded in American culture, and my wife, she has a balance of both. She is incredibly linguistic and ability to learn to teach Mandarin. She had the she had the fortune of being brought up and within the Taiwanese culture, um, and she's taught a lot to me. Just, just informational fact. Did you know that the Mandarin characters itself are actual depictions of objects, things relative to life? For example, a person standing up is a person standing up looking like a tree, and the character of a sky means the ceiling, the top. And depiction of water, the character is actually movement of water. Now, in itself, the Mandarin culture, and I'm sure a lot of cultures, comes with this beauty of the essence of life and imagination, fostering growth. So I think this is incredibly important, especially as an American here, and I'm sure like everybody else, the identity of a culture often gets lost through generational gaps and essentially assimilation. This program here, Play Thrive, is a godsend because it will allow these children to learn the Mandarin language, culture, and bring that as part of upbringing, not only as a linguistic ability, but to allow imagination, to allow them to understand, be receptive, and open to everything else in life. And I certainly understand that there are
Thank you so much,
constraints.
Henry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next to the stand, Renee Lowe.
Hello, good evening. My name is Renee Lowe, and I'm a parent to a 4-year-old who will be attending TK at Orion this fall in the Mandarin Immersion Program. I also have a 2-year-old at home and a third baby due any day now. And I'm here today to respectfully urge the Redwood City School Board to approve additional classrooms for Play Thrive at Orion Elementary. As a Redwood City family, we feel incredibly fortunate to be able to be a part of the Orion MI Immersion program. It is an exceptional program and opportunity for our children to attend a high-quality, award-winning public school while becoming bilingual. A key part of what makes this program work for families like ours is the availability of after-school care through Play Thrive, and which is thoughtfully designed to support the unique needs of Mandarin immersion students. As Orion's Mandarin immersion program continues to grow with 3 TK classes starting this fall, the demand for after-school care has grown alongside it. Currently, every new family that has applied to Play Thrive has been placed on a wait list. And Play Thrive is ready to and able to support this growth, but the availability of classroom space is limiting that expansion. So I'm here to respectfully ask the board to approve additional classrooms so that Play Thrive can continue to serve Orion families and keep pace with the program's growth. Expanding access to after-school care is essential for supporting families and ensuring the long-term success of the Mandarin Immersion Program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next up is Anjian Wu.
Good evening, board members. My name's Anjin, and I'm a parent of an incoming TK student at Orion. Oh,
Yeah, you're good.
okay.
Keep going.
My family moved to Redwood City early in 2025, and in part, one of the big reasons was the opportunity to attend Orion's TK Mandarin Immersion Program. So we chose this community intentionally, and we're really excited about being admitted to the school. But at the same time, we're currently, as well as with the other parents, waitlisted for Play Thrive after school care. We don't have, a sibling priority. We submitted our application for this after school program within the first 2 minutes of the application opening. And even so, we were still waitlisted at number 2. To me, this shows it's not about families being late or being unprepared. It shows that there's constraints in our after-school capacity, and even for families trying to plan responsibly and to act immediately can be affected. So I want to respectfully ask the board, the district leadership, to prioritize expanding after-school capacity at Orion, especially on-campus options such as Play Thrive. For a lot of working families, just like myself, after-school care, it's not an extra. It's what makes enrollment actually possible. A family can receive school placement but still have no reliable plan for what happens after dismissal. And we cannot simply just wait to the last minute because by then many other programs are full. And even when there are off-campus options that exist, they don't always accept TK students. And there's a lot of logistical issues that will have to come with pickups and drop-offs. Again, this goes against us working parents to manage every day. And from what many of us can tell, this isn't a demand problem at all. It appears to be a capacity and planning problem. And this is only going to continue to grow because the program is becoming more and more popular. So if that is the case, I hope that the school district can proactively work with its partners so that school access grows together as school programs grow rather than it lagging behind. On-campus care matters because it's a safe staff-to-staff transition. It gives young children more continuity and stability and makes it realistic for parents and families to say yes to schools in Redwood City. And a lot of families like ours are choosing Redwood City intentionally. We invest heavily in the community. We pay plenty of property taxes, and we hope that the district will continue to work with programs like Orion to truly make this accessible to the families that want to build their lives here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. I'm not seeing any other comment cards. I'm not seeing any people online with hands up. And so with that, I think we will move to end public comment, and we'll move on now to union comment. I see Maria here in the audience. Do you have any comment? And I also see Brenna online.
Maria Stockton, CSEA chapter president. I just want to say good evening. Thank you very much. And because of the shortage of time, I defer my time to the board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brenna, I see you online. Do you have any comments you wish to make at this time? I do see a hand up from Smart. Okay, let's get Brenna up first. Brenna?
Hello?
Yep, you have the floor.
Hi, I just wanted to check in and say thank you so much to the board. I have been admitted to the docket in upcoming weeks to be able to give what I think are really critical presentations to you. So thank you for that time and for scheduling me for those presentations.
You bet. Thank you, Brenna. We're still technically in the public comment period. I do see a hand up from Ms. Martinez, and so we will on Zoom.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Ms. Martinez, a second grade bilingual teacher at Garfield Elementary School. And today I'm here to speak for our most vulnerable students, In our school, many children are already working hard to catch up. If you impose a combo class this coming year, you will be making the learning gap even wider. A combo class requires the students to work alone while the teacher helps the other grade. But a student who is already behind cannot work alone yet. They need their teacher eyes and voice every minute. If you split their classes in two, these students will receive half of the help they need to succeed. We will see this struggle most in math and literacy. While I teach one grade, a student with a learning gap in the other grade will sit in silence, feeling lost. Every minute a teacher spends switching between two different curriculum books, it's a minute stolen from a child who is already struggling to keep up. I ask you to reconsider this plan to split the classes. Please do not ask our students to bridge the gap that we are making even bigger. Please give them a classroom where they can have their teachers' full attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. All right, and with that, I think we are now going to move on to our bond consent items. As a reminder for members of the public, consent items are ones where we approve a group of items in one go that are considered unlikely to be objectionable or need discussion. somebody like to move approval of the bond consent?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Great. We'll now be hearing about the. Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm being pretty timely here. We'll now be hearing about the audit of our 2024-2025 school year.
Good evening. Tonight we have Ahmad joining us from Bailey to discuss the 24-25 audit.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening, Governing Board. This is the annual financial report for the district. The scope of the audit is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. The way that we do the audit, we do in 3 phases. The interim phase, in which we take a look at your internal controls, the manner that you process receipts, the manner that you process disbursements, payroll. We look at federal and state compliance, and then we wait for management to close the books, and we come back, confirm the balances that are reported to you. Effectively, this audit is an affirmation of what was previously presented to you by management. It is a confirmation process. We confirm your LCFF revenues, we confirm your grant revenues, your investments, and your creditors, various items that are reported on the financial statements, and then we come back at final and we issue what we call an opinion on these financial statements. And I'm pleased to let you know that we issued a clean opinion on these financial statements. This is what they call an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance with respect to these financial statements. And I'm required to let you know that we have complied with the independence requirements, and there are some estimates reported in these financial statements related to your pension and OPEB, and actual results may vary. But with respect to the fund financial statements, specifically your general fund, the financial statements are fairly stated. We appreciate the help that we receive from management. Again, as I mentioned before, it's a confirmation process, and they connect us with your creditors and with your bankers and various third parties that you deal with. And we, at the end of the day, issued a clean opinion with respect to these financial statements. We had no findings to report or adjustments to the financial statements. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Trustees, questions about the audit? Comments?
Thank you for doing the audit and for presenting it tonight. Rick, I did have one question for you on one of the findings about the, there's this ruling, there's this guideline for what is a classroom teacher. It's from decades ago, right? It doesn't include any of the supports that go in there. And it says that we're short by 5 million of what we're supposed to do for an in-classroom teacher, but we're spending 3 times, 4 times that amount on in-classroom instructional aides, mental health counselors, other services directly to the students. Is there a way to help us sort of like quantify the amount that we're spending so that we can see where that gap is? I don't know who has that.
Yeah, I can pull up some information and share about the CEA and the form that you're referring to it, and was one of our findings for not meeting the 60% threshold for elementary school districts up on the screen, and I shared this earlier as well. With this, elementary school districts and unified and high school districts have different threshold percentages that they have to meet. And as you mentioned, Trustee Wells, we are about $5 million short of meeting that 60%. But I think it's important to note that although I'm not blaming this originally came out in the 70s, and the way that we do education today is much different. And the focus of education, including looking at the whole child and providing services to address multiple areas of need, are prevalent but are not included in the 60%. So on the chart I'm showing on the screen right now, you can see that what counts towards the 60% are classroom teacher salaries and instructional aid salaries, along with the associated benefits for that. But what doesn't count is just as important when we talk about the services that we're providing to our students. Administrators, but specifically counselors and psychologists are not included in that. So when we think about our MTSS services and the supports that we've been talking about for 2 years on how do we save these in light of pandemic funding removal or usage, those costs that we've have absorbed into the general fund are not counted towards this percentage, along with our TOSAs, a majority of our SPED contracts and some of the services that we're providing to those students in need. And these aren't extra services. These are students that need services that we must provide, and we're doing that. And then supplies, technology supplies, other supplies, simply turning on the light so a teacher can teach in the classroom is not counted either. So when we look at that and the amount of dollars we're spending on educating the whole child and providing resources to the whole child, that's not accounted for in the 60% of simply the classroom teacher and the perhaps instructional aid in some of those classes. So on here, you can see Redwood City School District starting in 1819, I didn't go back farther than that, where we didn't make CEA, we made it over the 3 years of the COVID funding, and now we're back below the 60%. The bar graph on the right shows statewide, not the percentage to CEA, but the percentage of districts not making CEA for elementary only in this model, showing in 1819 it was about 42% of districts not making it to the 24-25 school year, which we're talking about with the audit tonight, at 57 and nearing 60 the year before. So this is not a problem, a Redwood City problem. This is a definition problem of how CEA is calculated for all school districts.
And my understanding is Redwood City has about twice the percentage of special ed students as the statewide norms. And so
That is
those,
correct.
yeah, so those SPED contracts for NPAs and NPSs go towards providing services to that population.
That is absolutely true.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments about the audit? Thank you, Mike.
Some follow-up actually, just, and this is a little bit unfair because I'm asking you calculation questions off the bat, but it sounds like definition issue. If we were to redefine that in a way that does encompass whole child, we would think of things like the MTSS, DSS, counselors, et cetera. Do you happen to know if we were theoretically to include those, where we fall on the percentage threshold?
It would be well over 60%.
Well over 60. And then second question, super interesting, just it seemed very old law, perhaps not attuned to kind of how we think about education and services these days. Do you know if colleagues in our neighboring districts similarly, is there a common sense of definition of like what is the right way to think about this?
I can add.
Oh, that'd be.
And so we work with a lot of the California schools as well. And it's something that had happened quite significantly over the past 3 years after COVID. It's just the way that the calculation works and what you put in the numerator, denominator, and the exclusions that Rick was talking about. And so I'm going to say about a third of the schools that we audit over here in the Bay Area fell under that.
I guess my question was more of, if we were to get the right definition, like, do we have a sense, and do our neighboring districts, is there a common sense among school districts of like what the right way to actually think about this is? Obviously, we have all the things you mentioned, but is that like our thinking, or is that pretty common among other districts as well?
I'm making assumptions here. This isn't a normal conversation that we have with other school districts. I think most school districts, we may make it next year, we may not, right? Just depending on how staffing and contracts and all of that work out. So next year, maybe we're at 60.01. Doubtful, but it could happen. It's happening for some neighboring districts, but there's also neighboring districts that it's not happening. I don't know if there's a common definition. We just know that the services that we're providing directly to students are not being accounted for other than direct instruction in the classroom. So if we were to take it as all services provided, I'm not talking about, my salary and other salaries, but the ones that are actually day-to-day with students, that number will be dramatically different, or the percentage would have to lower if you wanted to just do pure classroom instruction as defined now.
Got it. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Great. And my understanding is this is an informational item, so it's not for us to approve the audit. We just recognize that the audit has been presented. Okay. And further questions? No?
And then just a question, with this in mind, item on the consent, the approval of the application for exemption, does this come because of this finding? Okay, thank you.
And I want to say thanks, Rick, and your office for doing the audit. I'm sure that there's a lot of work that has to go in to help support the auditors, but also just for the financial integrity that you have in the office and that brings to the community transparency. It's really important they entrust us with their money, and it's clear that you're doing it in a way that's done exactly where, we know where the money's going, exactly where it belongs, right to the students.
Well said, Mike. Thank you. Any further comment? Okay, and with that, thank you so much for presenting the.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And with that, we are now going to move on to TAF's presentation, where we will discuss, and then afterwards, we'll make sure to approve their SIPSA. David.
Oh, good. Good evening, folks. Dr. Baker, members of the school board. Mr. David Lee, congratulations on your baby. Welcome to Dad Life. Sleepless nights, I assume? Some? Yes. Not anymore, but I do remember those days. Anyway, thank you for having me, folks. It's a pleasure to be here. I will go ahead and give my presentation. I know you've seen my board presentation beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and get right to it. Tonight's presentation deals with the approval of the SIPSA, which is a student plan for student achievement, the school plan for student achievement. And let's see what's going on here. Oh, sorry. No. It doesn't seem like the battery's working. It's on. It's on. Okay, so our goal one of our SIPSA is dealing with suspensions, improving attendance rate, and reducing chronic absenteeism. So this is one of our areas where I feel we've done an incredible job of, improving. So I really want to highlight that in our work for attendance and chronic absenteeism, we have been really intentional on how to identify patterns of absenteeism. We have biweekly attendance meetings where we have our TOSA, which we mentioned earlier, and our community school specialist, who was hired through a grant, the Community California Community Schools Partnerships Grant, and that person has been with us for 3 years now, so 3 years out of 5. So that person has been doing well. Her name is Kelly Rodriguez. So they've been having intentional meetings where data is being looked at in terms of assessment of attendance. We look at patterns like students that have been going on independent study the year prior, and we really look to see what types of things are coming up. We have been doing a lot of work on improving attendance and recognizing it. We have had our, trimester awards where we recognize perfect attendance. We're having monthly attendance contests between classes. So I feel that those things that we've been doing have improved, and we actually have done a lot more outreach with families. We have noticed that there are some barriers, transportation. We have some instability in terms of housing. So we always connect those families with our family centers. So we are doing that regularly. We do that all day, every day. We close out all of our conferences and school status attend, and we make sure that our families know of the resources that we have available in the family center. We haven't gone as far as sobbing kids yet, but we have been doing at least, we have about 8 CESP that we have done year round. And we are just trying to make sure that families understand the importance of being at school. We have also using all the resources that, Mr. Jorge Quintana gave to us regarding attendance and using those flyers and those, photos on my newsletter. You might have seen that. So I have a section on my newsletter that has attendance. So that's where I feel that we have done a lot, and it's going to continue improving. For the suspension portion of this goal, I feel, oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Yes. So for the suspension portion of this goal, we have reduced suspensions, and we have suspended, but we don't suspend regularly at all. What we are doing is using our PBIS program. When I took over TAF, TAF was in year 2 of a PBIS program that was being initiative that was being conducted with the San Clara County Office of Education, right? And so I finished out year 2, and ever since then we've been just using Our PBIS, which is positive behavior intervention system, that has been, we do it every day. The students are being offered and given dolphin tickets. Every Friday, we do our weekly raffle. I think, Miss Jennifer, you may have missed it, or you were there when you saw that. So that's been helping us. We do a lot of social and emotional support. Our counselors are doing a great job there. We feel that we are also very proactive in tracking behavior data. We have a behavior system that is robust. I get all the notifications every time something is entered in that tracker, and I move on it as soon as I get to it. The communication with parents has been key. I believe that I know 90% of our families on a first name basis. I'm out there every day. I open the gate. I don't like having meetings right at 8 because part of my PBIS that I do is open the gate and welcome the children. I'm out there shaking hands and picking up trash if I have to. But I feel that that's an important thing for parents to see. And I communicate with families a lot. I call them regularly. I'm a relationships builder in terms of getting to know families. And I think that's what's been helping our suspensions because I get ahead of it. We look for patterns, and I call mom or dad and say, hey, we noticed this, this, and this. And then I'm also probing what's going on at home, what kind of support are you doing. So I think that has been helping our suspensions. Any questions on goal 1? Okay. So moving on to goal 2. So goal 2 deals with English learner progress and LPAC reclassification rates. This is a goal that I feel we have improved and we will continue to improve. One of the key takeaways that we've been doing, and I've noticed is, last year we weren't grouping students by LPAC groups. We were doing it, excuse me, let me go back. We were doing that, but we weren't assigning it to a teacher. Now, this year in grades 2 to 5, we've been intentional by using LPAC data and identifying LPAC levels 1 and 2. And that those group of students go to a teacher, and this is just grades 2 to 5. And then levels 3 and 4 will go to another teacher. And within that, those lessons are built so that the students are getting that scaffolded support for their English language instruction, English language development. And we really focus on the 4 domains. So, making sure that students are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And we also do LPAC test prep. So we push the LPAC data from the previous years, and we use that to organize groups for reading intervention and also to provide a roster for our Healthy Cities who does Healthy Cities Tutoring, who does after school LPAC and ELD test prep. And so that has been marvelous. And I actually was talking to Georgianne today, so she's really happy about that. And so, we have been using data not just for LPAC, but also for ELA and math intentionally to make sure we look at it. I think my teachers are tired of me telling them that we look at so much data. But, a lot of times you look at data and what do we do with it? We are doing scaffolding, small group instruction, and we are really trying to hone in and at the same time taking that data and using it as we vertically align with grades. So that is what I feel that we are improving there. I'm hoping that we have more than 25 reclassified students, and I hope that our LPAC progress improves this year on our tests. For goal 3, I feel that also for goal 3, we have to improve math and ELA across the board. Our ELA iReady scores show some good growth from fall to winter. You could see the red drop there, and the teachers are working really hard. Again, it's being intentional. We have been looking at the data. Our PLCs have been instrumental in terms of analyzing data. We've been looking at reading and math scores, and our Spanish iReady for K through 3rd grade have shown some great results. For example, right now in kindergarten, if you go back, we have 41%, one grade below, and over half at Spanish reading level. So that is great, and especially for grades 1 through 3, the same thing is happening. Early on, we had more kids below grade level, 2 below, but now we're getting kids caught up, and we're hoping that progression transfers in to our English instruction as we move forward with 4th and 5th grade, especially as we move with CASP and test prep and things of that sort. The key takeaways that I feel that we've learned and will continue to work on is that our teachers are using the adopted curriculum as they've been directed to, and they've been doing a good job. They say good things about Benchmark Advance. They feel that that curriculum really hones into the standards. We have been intentional about looking at the standards, looking at the data. iReady does a decent job of identifying the standards that students lack. So we go back and look at the personalized reports, and we also looked at growth progress, and we make small groups based off that. Our teachers work really hard. Math is the same way. We use LPAC and previous CASP data to make groups. I shared the CASP data with our teachers from last year. It's available on our data spreadsheet, so they know what's happening. They know how to, group these students. All classrooms are running good routines, and so that allows students to maximize, as teachers to maximize instruction. And again, we tie it all back to using LPAC data and iReady and make sure that we kind of align that with district curriculum. And it's been working for us. We know that we have a lot of work to do, and I'm really proud of the teachers that are working. They're working their tails off, and I appreciate that. And the PLCs have been really key in terms of allowing teachers to be collaborative with each other. And I'm excited about our planning pilot that has been taking place in grades 3 through 5. Teachers have been really intentional and using benchmarks, CRLP, and they keep minutes on what they do. I read their notes every day, and we've been seeing some strong growth in 4th grade. We're seeing that a lot of our students do come in 2 or grade levels below, but we're making gains, pushing little by little, but we are excited about that, and we are celebrating growth. Taft is a place where we have varying proficiency levels coming in, and it's hard for teachers to scaffold, but they're doing what they can, and I'm really proud of them. With chronic absenteeism just decreasing, we're seeing more and more students stabilize in the classroom, so that also allows. One of the things we have noticed is we are trying to figure out how many students actually go through Taft from K through 5, and a lot of times they'll leave in 2nd grade, or some of them will come in 3rd or 4th. So we don't really have a progression of a student who goes all the way through Taft. Those are few and far between, and we do have them, but it's an interesting thing to look at. I'm going to start looking at that data and try to figure out how we can, use that to inform our teachers and their decisions on how we, instruct. And I would really believe that as we move forward and we start looking at universal design, it's going to get better at Taft. It really is. And I'm really happy. I have a great set of teachers. The community is amazing, and the kids are really nice. And anybody who's been at Taft, you'll know that we have a lot of work to do academically, but I feel that the kids there are, we're meeting them where they're at, and the kids are lovely, and they follow instruction, direction, and they do the best they can with what they have. And many times our kids they come in and they don't have what we have, and that's also tough on them. But it's also important for us to be mindful of that. So, we give them what they can, and we could give them what they could move forward with. And our kids try hard, and we're never going to let that go. So, thank you. Any questions?
Thanks so much. Questions? Jennifer.
Thank you, Principal David. I just have one clarifying question for
Yes.
the Spanish iReady.
Yes,
The kids in K through 3, are they also taking iReady in English or
They are.
just in Spanish?
no, they are.
So they're taking Spanish, English, and math for the iReady.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they take 3 assessments.
Got it. Okay. And then the tutoring, I saw that you mentioned it's been very helpful for the LPAC, and you're only kind of reaching 12 to 15 kids. Is that something we can increase, or is that just kind of the limit on the?
No, we could increase it, but it also means paying them more money. So, that's being funded through the CCSPP grant, which is a community schools grant. I'm sure if we were able to get more money to them, they'll be able to provide services for more children.
What's the cost? Like, what's it penciled out to in terms of dollars?
Well, in the last 2 years, I want to say it's about 5,000.
So 5,000 per kid per year.
No, for the whole group. Yeah.
That's not very expensive.
No, but I actually talked to Georgianne today and she was telling me how costs have gone up. So I told her that we could increase numbers as long as, well, the amount if we also get. They use a lot of volunteer, it's volunteer based, Healthy City. So
Is there more supply available if that's something we wanted to lean on?
sure. We actually try to target those students who are already in our after school program. So we also do CAP, which is College Advising Prep, which is, it takes a while. What happens is we look at our roster. So I'll give you an example. We have 130 students in BGCP and another maybe 50 in Pell, or roughly. So when we start looking at our tutoring list and our numbers, we really look at all their data. So we look at the LPAC, the CASP, everything that we have iReady from the years prior, and then we start the rosters. We don't typically like to double dip. So if a kid is in CASP,
Sure.
So that's where we run into sometimes. And then we have offered it to kids who aren't in after school, but they won't come for X reason. Or either nobody can drop them off or they can pick them up and so on. We do have 4 students being served by Healthy Cities one-to-one. And those kids live in the neighborhood but that's 1 hour a day per week. And it's not personalized. It is personalized, but it's not geared towards like LPAC. That's more just like general tutoring. But yes, if we probably throw more money, we could have more folks.
Just doesn't seem like a lot, but.
No, and the numbers look good. It's definitely, the pilot looks like it's having a positive effect. And you just, when I was talking to you on campus and even your presentation today, everything is just very focused, which is really, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Celia.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is in regards to the monthly attendance contest that you have.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are you seeing a big difference between, because obviously they're participating classroom, I'm assuming, versus classrooms perhaps?
Yeah, so what we do is Kelly Rodriguez will calculate the attendance rate for each class, and then we shout it out, and then they get a prize. And yes, we have seen that it's been in the upper 90s for all classes. So we're looking at 95, 96% every time every month there's a class that's waiting with that number. It hasn't dropped less than 95, I don't believe.
Because obviously, I guess it's nice for them to get the price, but more of like the actual attendance. And I'm wondering if they're going back to the home telling their parents, even if I don't feel good, I want to still go to school because.
Well, we get those.
Yeah, right.
We get, and a lot of parents have also shifted their mindset too. It's oh, he was telling me he was sick, but I brought him anyway.
That's great.
Hey, glad we wanted attendance to increase, right? So and sometimes it's true. Sometimes kids are just kids. They don't want to go to school. But yeah, we continue. And I gotta give kudos to Maribel, which is our TOSA, and Kelly. They're calling. We send attendance letters out. So every trimester, we also send in the report cards. We have a personalized letter that has the chart of chronic absenteeism, and then Maribel gets in there and calculates it and tells them, oh, and we also look at through Power Score Analytics, but she does, I tell her we have to mail merge them, but she likes to know by hand. Okay, whatever. But yeah, she does that and they get it with the report card. So, those are the kids that we're targeting. And luckily we haven't had to starve anybody yet, but the school year's not over.
Thank you. And then just, props to everyone that's dealing with the LPAC prep training.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Obviously get the kids ready so that you're using, like you said, the data from last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And applying it so that they know what's coming. So
yeah, so for those students, for example, in in that particular group, they're all LPAC levels 3 because we need them. And if we could get out of those 12, 6 of them, that's 50%. That's just gonna make wonders for us, And we're really and we're doing upper grades now, but I'm thinking about what can we do for the lower grades because as you know, K2 LPAC test is a lot different than 3.5. 3.5 gets more complex, and so we target the older students just because we don't want them to be LTELs. long-term English language learners. So
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation and the work obviously that you're doing at Taft. It looks really good in the numbers. The chronic absenteeism drop looks amazing. The growth that iReady showing from fall to winter is incredible.
Thank
We
you.
talk a lot about numbers here, about like how things are doing that, but I don't forget that behind every number is, it's a student, it's a family, it's the staff, it's the teachers in the classroom, it's everybody working at the site, it's your tireless work and volunteering a bit about your family and as you're working there and the community that's built. It seems like a really strong community that's going on at Taft. And so that's something that truly you should be celebrating. And
Thank you.
It sounds like it. I hear it in your voice and in your presentation. So yeah, congratulations and thanks for the report.
Thank you.
I am very focused on numbers. I'll acknowledge that, but I'll say it's really helpful to have these presentations. One of the things that doesn't show up in the presentations themselves, but are in the SARCs that I try to pay attention to, sorry, not the SARC, the SIPSs, are the school climate survey responses.
Yes.
It's one of our local surveys, and I'll just note, really, they're really positive. So that's great. And it was great to understand all the work that you put in, right? How you describe that you're greeting students every single day at the gate as a way to maintain that and making sure that there's constant communication with families, because I think that's obviously a foundation, right? For people, they have to feel welcome, feel safe in order to do all the other things academically. So just wanted to call it that. Really glad to see that there's a lot of positivity there. And I know it takes time, but definitely appreciated. And like everyone else said, the numbers, great, kind of across the board. Well, attendance, chronic absenteeism, fantastic to see that those are all going in the right direction. iReady, LPAC, CASP, I feel very hopeful based on what we're seeing on I will just see how it goes, but that feels like it's great. On the iReady, the only question I had was really on math, which was one, like, looks great. I remember thinking last year, it was a challenging math year for Taft. And then these numbers are just outstanding.
Yeah.
And so I would love to know, because I know that I think as the board of the district, we've really focused on the English learning, or as the ELA piece, because that's also foundational to the way that we think about math. But I feel like math will be the next frontier.
It is.
And so I would love to know what did you do?
What did you do?
Like really,
we were intentional about how we did things. So, I from day one, after the task force came out last year, I broke them down. I gave them to the teachers, and we started using that. And then we really looked at data from the get-go, and we were really, I got some strong teachers in 3-5 in terms, and then we know that math, when you compare it to ELA, that's going to be like our next big thing. We have to really, as we move forward, we know that math, we got to do something about it. And right now we're doing a lot. We're getting ready. We started getting ready for the CASP test the mid-March, right after conferences. So we're already getting there, and there's a lot of test prep going on. There's a lot of work in looking at the standard. And one of the things that I already did, I was trying to celebrate growth, but teachers were like, no, we got to get better. We got to get better. And I get that because they're the ones in the trenches doing all the work. But it was really being intentional with using what we had and moving forward with it. It was not just like, here's the data. No, it's more like, and one of the things that I really appreciated about the staff was, yes, we were focused with ELA, but then amongst themselves, they started noticing and talking about like, hey, we got to do something about math. And we're hoping that this year, and I was talking to Dr. Baker at another, earlier today, but if our projections hold true, like if our projections and iReady, because iReady has this tool, it would be amazing if those projections matched come May, because it would be like, yes. But it's just something that we have to just hope for, and our teachers are just really working hard.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'll just say, I'm also hopeful for the cast, but even just seeing what we have now, it's clear that there's a lot of learning going on, right? So I love the idea of like, let's keep on pushing, but also want to make sure that there's adequate time spent celebrating what have already been wins.
Well, I'll give you an example. I give popcorn party. No, actually, everyone wants ice cream, but I look at the projected growth, actually the growth summary, and I award the top 3 classes. And so I got to shout out Miss Hill today. So she won both math and ELA. So her ice cream's the ice cream, they already had it. But we had some good growth though. Miss Charlene's class, who is our TLC, our therapeutic, they had 122% growth in reading. So those 8 students, they're making some growth. And Mr. Ejido, who is our Spanish bilingual teacher in 3rd grade, he was one of our top performers in math. So, if you're out there hearing, some of you guys still have to claim your prizes because it's only Miss Gil has only claimed her ice cream. And Miss Aguilar was another one too. But those are the things I do to try to promote that. And Ms. Herrera sent an email to all the principals about like recommendations for CASP. And I've been thinking about like once we come back from spring break, like elevating and promoting CASP in a positive way and getting kids, because I haven't really done that in the past 2 years. And I'm going to look out for resources to see like how can I don't know, get banners or something around campus and really promote like getting ready for the test. And last year we didn't do that.
This is awesome. Thank you.
Anna, can I have you bring this presentation up again and present page 21? Yeah, because look, you said you celebrate growth, but my man, like some of these numbers are pretty exceptional. So I just want to make sure that we take the time to underscore them. So feel like this slide was almost a brush past in your presentation, but that rightmost number there, taking a look at that 65.4% of our students achieved expected growth at mid-year versus where we were like just 2 years ago, where we were only at 50.5%. Like that is tremendous acceleration into growth. These students are growing at an accelerating rate. And that's just delightful to see. Can you go 2 more slides after this to 23?
That's all teachers. I mean,
Yeah, that's all.
That's belief. That's
kids learn.
That's me telling them that they could. And I love all the teachers that have worked for me. Teachers, if you're out there, I appreciate everything, every single one of you. But it's them, and they're the ones doing the work, and I support them. And they come to me, and that's what I do. And my job is to support teachers.
Awesome. And I want to celebrate the work that's being done here because here, 2 slides later, also, I want to make sure you don't bury the lead there. Full right, 65.4% of our students met or exceeded their expected growth versus, again, 50.5%. Like those are some, I'm 61.2% versus 45%, right? So those are some huge gains that we're seeing in students that are meeting their growth goals. And I think that really I want to make sure the whole district is aligned on the number one job is to make sure that students grow, right? When we get students, we need to make sure that over the course of the year, each student learns as much as possible. And this is the right metric to be looking at. And you and your teachers are doing a great job at leaning into growth and growing those growth numbers. And so
it's the teachers. I'm there to support.
Thank you, teachers.
I'm the coach.
You might have something to do with it, so deal with it.
Thank you. I'm trying to be modest here.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that was underscored for the public.
I believe. Thank you very much.
Dr. Baker.
David, you're one of the principals that uses data a lot.
Yes.
And so as the board members were giving you accolades in regard to the growth and so forth that is occurring, the teachers are doing an outstanding job, but you are behind them, as you said, supporting. But at the same time, you're looking at the data, you look at it with them, you develop next steps, you go into the classrooms and you observe, and then you give feedback. So I applaud you for doing all that work also. Yes, the teachers are on the ground there every day with the students, but you are also part of that, if not more than what is happening in the classroom. You're providing that extra support to allow the teacher to do what they're supposed to do to get the results that you have.
Thank you.
So kudos to you. And I know you say it's the teachers, and it is, but at the same time, it's a good leader that's at the school site that can make things like this happen.
Well, I appreciate what you said. Thank you very much. I try my best.
And thank you for what you do every morning with the families, even if the traffic is nuts.
The traffic's gotten better.
It's got.
Oh yeah, we're having everybody pull up to the PAL building, and
did you?
yeah, sometimes you don't even know if people are coming to school because it's.
A few weeks ago back when Anna and I were there. Oh,
But it's also parking because of the park.
yeah, I know because of that, but thank you for continuing to do that with the family.
Yeah, there's cars parked out front. I call the police. They come get it. Anyway, so those are just things that I have to do to make sure that the school runs as best as they can, because I like TAF. I love it. So it's a great place. And I just look forward to working with all the teachers and students, especially all the, we're gonna have some new teachers come next year, and I'm excited to work with them. And I'm sure we're gonna continue the growth.
They're joining a good group that there's right now.
Yes, I hope that
And the
welcome it
instructional
back.
assistants, the office managers.
And
and
again,
that.
invitations to any of you who want to come hang out. Most of you have come, if not all. So
Thank you, Dave.
is that all? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And now I need somebody to move to approve the SIPSA.
I move that we approve the SIPSA for Taft.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Ha. All right. Next up is Garfield.
Okay. All right, so I'm not going to go over the goals because, oh, sorry. Good evening, board and Dr. Baker. Thank you for letting us be here today to share our work. Goal 1, you're familiar with. We are seeing significant increase in our overall attendance rates. And a decrease in our chronic absences. This is more. Suspension rates as well have gone down significantly. And I think the attendance really comes down to our team. We have a solid team that is so dedicated. Our TOSA, our community school coordinator, and our office. And those daily phone calls, and the teachers also are calling students now when kids are out. Hey, your child, we missed him. And an example of how dedicated our TOSA is, there's one mom, she calls every morning to wake her up because she couldn't get up. So now her daughter's to school on time. So there's some really dedicated work going on. And mostly though, really, it's just been focusing on making the school an inclusive, fun place to be. I also greet the students with the fist bump every morning at the door, at the gate. Great way to get to know the students and build relationships. We have been doing PBIS this year. We started that, so that's been very helpful. And we work with Circle Up, which, I came into a school that was still dealing with loss, and Circle Up really helped with that and strengthened the connections between the teachers and helped us look at our bias and our equity and disparities and really just strengthen the connections between the teachers so that they can be there for the kids. And the partnership with our community school is also I've never worked at a community school before, and it's incredible how much support. They also know every kid, every name, counseling, whatever, food, whatever they need, they're on it. So it's really neat to see how much support is happening there. Our next step, I have found that it's out of love, but a lot of parents let their child, our chronically absent parents, let their child decide whether or not they go to school. And that's just been a challenge that we're working on. And we're going to bring that to the parent universities we do next year. That'll be a topic. One thing I wish we could change is our BGCC. We have a grant, so they have to pick the kids up at 6. And if you get off work at 5 or 5:30, so that makes it hard for parents who need daycare, but they don't enroll them because it's more of a hassle. So then they miss school too. And I'm going to do the Meet Your Neighbor like we did last year, where the addresses are mapped out. People sit at the same table together, meet who lives by them to build relationships for carpooling or walking each other's kids to school. Goal 2. Our English learners are progressing. So you could see the base was 32 and we're at 44. And I think it's important to remember that they took the test even earlier this year than they took last year. And our reclassification rates have made some growth. Really following the district model of what's your thing called, Anna? The where everybody follows the same schedule and plan. The cohesion model, thank you, is really helped a lot because there's consistency from every grade level. You kids are circling, and we're getting a lot of support from Dr. Sagulin, who comes out and teaches lessons and then debriefs and then has the teacher teach a lesson, and other people are watching them and learning that way. Our coach is incredible. She is very, very knowledgeable. And teachers, we use our guest teacher to have teachers pulled out for a half day every other week to do lesson planning. We partner with Healthy Cities, which they're also focusing on ELD. We're having them work with our kids that are very close to passing. And we've spent a lot of time working with the parents at ELAC and Cafecito on how they can support their students and the importance of passing the exam and becoming RFEPs. One thing that, right now we all do learning objectives, but next year I'd like to start integrating language objectives as well. So that's one thing we're heading into. Goal 3. These are our Spanish iReady results. They're a little skewed because you can't be more than one grade below grade level in kinder. So it looks better. And these are our Spanish first and second iReady grade. So there's an 18% increase. And this is our English ELA. So last year at this point, at the end of last year, 61% of the students made growth, and we're at the mid-year. So we've already almost reached the mid-year to where they were at the end of last year. And we're seeing the same thing happening with math. Last year, at the end of the year, 41%, and we are now at 70%. So we're seeing some real growth in our math as well. Not 64%, but yeah. And this is the breakdown. Our math. This year and last year, I can't take credit for growth. This is my first year at Garfield, but they have, and I really think a lot of it is the board providing and making Garfield a priority, because the tier 1 teaching that is blows me away sometimes. I was in a class and it was 5th grade, and they were reading a complex text grade level, but I had to read it a couple of times to figure it out. It was very complex, and they had to make inferences to determine the themes. So she's using these, we call them CRLP strategies, where you're activating their prior knowledge, monitoring comprehension, deconstructing sentences, and then the end product. And it's really incredible to see kids that are still just learning English engaging in this rich text that's grade level and being successful. So it's pretty impressive. We piloted the benchmark this year, the new one, and that I think has also helped. It's a great improvement. Again, we have a lot of time for planning. Small group instruction. We're doing the literacy, the LCERT grant, And for that, we're required to do what they call PDAS cycles, which are plan, do, act, study. I'm gonna get back. Sorry. And what that is it's basically the PLC, but a little bit more engaged because you get together and find something that's not working. And we noticed that our students were decoding, but they weren't reading. It was like yo, be, o, la, ka, sa, but they weren't really comprehending. So that was our focus for the beginning of the year, and really working with teachers on how to teach reading and targeted instruction. And then you go back and you look at the data. Did it work? Yes. And you build on that. From that, we went to the stations. What are the kids doing? The centers while you're working with the kids. And so all year long, you're just doing these cycles of improvement while you're going to many, many professional development classes that are very helpful. Our next steps, I would really, reading at home when you just sign off is just not, it's not working, at least in Garfield. And so we're looking at having, I hate to give more technology, but having kids use one of the programs where you can monitor and you can put it at their level to increase, and then you can monitor it and reward the classes that are reading. Because the books also don't come back, which is hard. We want to continue, obviously, with our professional learning communities and continue to prioritize our schools. You know, the growth, like I said, it's not me. You can see it's moving, but it's not going to happen again next year if we don't have students to get to, we have almost all of our K2 classes are going to be combos. And developmentally, kinders and first graders, 2 curriculums, it's not possible. And because of that, all of our teachers have left. And so now we have new teachers coming in. And how is that best practice? How is that equitable? So I just wanted to share that concern. That is it.
Thank you, Principal Jennifer. So it sounds like you had an interesting first year at Garfield, but the numbers look as good as Taft, and the proficiency just. But I was impressed actually, even just with the growth, but also just at the level, like they've grown to proficient, which is really what we were trying to do here. I will say that the idea of bringing the technology in the reading home, my son is doing that with the Chinese at Orion, and it is gamifying it, but it really has made him actually read the 20 minutes a day and see where he's at so they can get coins to modify his little avatar. So I mean, he has really improved in the Chinese reading. So hopefully with the English reading, it would work also. Have you heard from the parents on the combo classes too, or this is more from the teachers side?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
And the other part is the losing of the teachers who, a lot of our kids have experienced trauma and they build relationships with their siblings, teachers. They're at fifth grade, they still see their first grade teacher, and losing all the teachers, another aspect.
Mike, you gotta push things up. There you go.
Okay. We are going to put out a survey to see if the parents would be interested in going all English. That's the plan right now. I don't know if it's going to change. So we wouldn't have to do combos, but is that the answer? I don't know.
Oh, it's the enrollment split for the bilingual and the
Yeah.
English class. Okay, got it. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation as well. When you talked about the meet your neighbor strategy that you're doing, I'm wondering, how are we reaching those parents? Is this something new that you're doing that they've done in the past? You just haven't done it yourself?
I did it last year at Henry Ford. So you put all the chronic and absent students into Google Maps and see who lives near each other and then seat them together. And we do parent university and there's a lot of incentives. So we have really good turnout. So I'm optimistic that we would have the turnout for that as well.
And then I'm just wondering, obviously this would be for you, but like, how are we going to reach those parents? Are we going to give them plenty of time for them to know instead of like next week we're having this, right? So how are we going to reach out to them for them to register? Are we going to reach them via phone versus, you know, the flyer or the newsletter that perhaps just make it lost and people may not know about it? So maybe just if we could be a little,
Yeah.
that's for you.
Yeah. Last year we sent invitations and then called to confirm.
Okay.
But I think giving a good heads up is a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, like explaining to them, like really what the focus is and what they're gonna get out of, not just you're gonna come and meet your friend, but it's gonna be
Yeah.
more than that, right? So,
Yeah.
And then again, kudos to all the teachers and their staff, their aides for helping in the classroom. I mean, again, with the math going, it's just great. Do we know what happened? I know obviously the math was higher than the English, and usually we see the other way around, where is the English versus the math?
Well, like Data was saying, some of it is that English is improving, but also it's the second year of the program, and the teachers are giving kids time to really struggle productively, like guiding questions, not giving them the answers. And I think that's really made a big difference.
Great. And then last question. The reading program, are we talking all K through fifth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for the presentation and for moving over to Garfield for, you know, and leading it starting this year. It sounds like it's, you know, you've brought your own personality to it and brought your own, some of your own ideas to it. And it looks like from the initial numbers that it's, things are working well. We're definitely seeing the absenteeism and chronic attendance and chronic absenteeism are all heading in the right direction. The ELA and math growth in iReady is again tremendous. It's really inspiring to see all that, you know, the amount of growth that both our schools tonight are seeing there, but in the 60s, above 60% of all the students hitting that target is great. I really appreciate the honest feedback about what isn't working and what you're worried about. Thank you so much for raising that here. I think it's an important thing. We hear it in our public comments as well. And I just think it's an important thing that we continue to discuss and make sure that we're aware. We know that it's happening. It's a challenge, right? To be able to figure out how to get the numbers to work, the finances to work and everything. But thank you again for just bringing that up. And the one thing that I don't know why it jumped out in your SIPSA as opposed to the others, but like we've talked about this before with all the new curriculum load that teachers have had to go through between Haggerty, UFly, CRLOP, illustrative math. I mean, you can keep but benchmark pilot you're doing the other ones. So you're seeing great growth. Is it time for these new curriculums to bake? Are some of them working better than others? Like, how does that all work?
I think it's the training the teachers are getting so that the kids could access the curriculum. Because 3 years ago, a lot of people were saying they can't read this. This is too hard. And so the strategies they've learned, highest kid, everybody is able to meet it at their needs. So I think that's the biggest part.
Sounds like we're getting some great PD in there.
Well, I think it's also, I mean, I think Jennifer has had a coach who weekly plans, right? So they have had, both of these schools have had dedicated planning time. And I think that dedicated planning time allows the teachers to really think about what they're doing from a, you know, weekly basis. And so really being cognizant of using the strategies we've been working on and actually implementing them, right? And then both of them have had the pilot of the new curriculum and benchmarks. So we know that we started with them thinking this is a good way that everybody be consistent. And so again, we're very hopeful that we've gotten really good feedback from them about the curriculum and the changes that have been made. But I think it comes down to the planning, that they have been dedicated planning time. I mean, David has it weekly for 3-5. We know we haven't been able to do K2, and you have it K5 weekly every other week, right? But it's not as robust as David's, but definitely it's consistent. So how do we keep that going is the question, because we have guest teachers at both those sites. And so that also allows us to do that. So when we take that away, it is one more hardship at the schools that most need it. And I think it's that consistency.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. And then again, thank you to, all the teachers, all the staff, everyone on the school site that's really contributing to the growth of our students, our families, and the whole community there. I love the shout out of the community school and your new experience with it and how powerful those can be because they're an awesome asset that Redwood City has at 8 of our schools. And so it's just wonderful to hear the impact that they're having. Thanks.
Like everyone else, really appreciate the presentation and all the color that it went into it. I think the one thing that did stick out to me was, as I mentioned, I do try to look at the SIPSs and the school climate pieces, and there are a few elements there that I think probably challenging that they really have nothing to do with you because I think they're taken in the fall and that's basically what you inherited. But it was great to hear a lot of the work that's going into kind of addressing them, right? So fairness, safety, student motivation. I think these are, it sounds what you described was like the parent university, building the relationships person to person, and other things like that it's just good to hear that like I read it, you're internalizing it and doing things. So really appreciate that, especially knowing that it's always challenging transitioning to a new school in the first year, but really appreciate that. Otherwise, feel like a lot of the stuff that we talked about for TAT is almost like a copy and paste. Like the numbers look great, a lot of progress, not a competition among schools. It's great that everyone is, especially in our priority schools, are demonstrating tremendous growth. Like the things that the district is doing, that our teacher, our principal, that like they are working. So love to see that. And I'll echo what Mike said. Really do appreciate the candor that you provided. I think just full cards on the table. I don't think anyone, well, I shouldn't speak for anyone other than myself. It's never my intention to put more students than is optimal in a class, right? Like no one wants that. It's more understanding the puzzle and how the finances work. That said, it's also really important for me to understand what the implications are based on each decision, right? So if we are having tremendous momentum moving forward with the way that things are going, it's important to know that that could go awry if there are changes made. And that's not to say it just means it's part of the puzzle, but I'm really glad to know that that is an opinion out there that's the situation that's happening. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Great to see those growth numbers. Yeah. And to Trustee Lee's point, be interesting to see if we can keep those up with perhaps some changes in the next school year. I would love to hear just a little bit more about parent universities because I really feel like that's part of the missing ingredient across the district of like how do we engage with and activate the parent base to be partners in educating kids. So I would love if you could just share a little bit more about what you're doing there, what's worked, and maybe what we could use at other sites as well to engage parents.
Sure. Redwood City Education Foundation is helping us fund it, but it really isn't expensive. We've had different speakers come in. We had a lawyer talk about know your rights. We've had a nutritionist. We let the parents pick the subjects. We had one night where they rotated through stations and learned things, different ways to help their students at home. We do a big incentive, like a cart with all the toys that they get from the raffle. So the kids go home and tell their parents that they want to go. And we have daycare and dinner. So it makes it much easier for parents. That is one component of it.
How often do you throw these?
3 or 4 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you finding that's the right pace? There should be more ideally. It's too often, or just like how's pacing working out?
It's good. We could do more, but parents are busy too, so
Fair.
yeah. But they're definitely successful.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I love just the anecdote about like guiding the kids, but letting them struggle a bit. Because I really do feel like learning is the productive struggle that people have with new knowledge. Like that is the learning process. So really wonderful. Thank you so much. Dr. Baker.
So Jennifer, don't give yourself such a negative vibe here. I don't want you to do that. It's your first year at Garfield and you're doing a wonderful job. And it's not a competition between schools either.
I know.
There's
I was just
system-
kind of joking.
Okay. But I sometimes think, no, don't,
Yeah.
don't feel that way. Like I say, it's not a competition among schools. You're growing also. Your population is doing well. The thing about in parent education, PIQE, is that what's being used? No, it's not.
Our Redwood City Education Foundation.
Oh, okay. So you're not used, she's not.
No,
on-
because we're looking at for Hoover.
Oh, you're looking at PK for Hoover because many years ago we started way before you came to Taft. I had PK at Taft, and it's another parent organization group that works very closely with the parents of a community. And at the time, Taft, I wanted more parents to be involved, and so they scaffold the different types of services that they would provide to parents over a course of a year. So I was wondering, but wasn't PK there last year at Garf? I know you were not there, but I think
No, it was Parent University. So last year they did four.
what did
Four?
Todd bring?
I'm looking at you. Was it Gina 4? They did 3 last year? They did 3 last year.
They did 3 last
Yeah,
year.
they did 3 last year.
That's great. That's good. Provided that, that the parents, get to select what's really going to be used for them because for a while we were using another organization and it wasn't really what the parent group wanted, but it was what that organization brought in. And they felt that was what that was what was needed. But it's changed now. So if that's what's working, we should see.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we think we know what they want,
Right,
right? And
exactly. But it
so,
needs to
yeah.
come from the parents what
Yeah.
they need. Exactly. Good. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear that. And the other piece I know about the combos, and we're hearing a lot about it, but I know Anna has that survey that's going out soon so that we can determine with parents, moving forward, maybe if we go in a different direction regarding the bilingual program and not the bilingual program.
We're just thinking outside of the box, how we
Yeah,
can
how
make
we
this
can
work.
Make it work, and maybe it can go in a different direction, and parents and students will both be supported in the manner in which we go. So,
Yeah, all the teachers are still bilingual, so they'd still be getting support in their native
Right, right,
language,
right.
but the instruction would be in English.
well, in English. And
Yeah.
so if there's if it's necessary to explain something in Spanish, you can do that really quickly and then go back into English. Yeah. Like the old bilingual program many years ago. The other item that I wanted to the shout out with Healthy City Tutoring. I know Georgette is very much involved in Redwood City Together, and I've talked to her quite a bit about not only TAP but also at Garfield on how supportive not only you but others are of the program, and to see if she can get more tutors to help you out. How is CAP working for you?
Good. They
Because
give,
they're through the Boys and Girls Club,
yeah,
correct?
we have CAP and air reading, one's
Right.
math. And what I like about them is they give so much feedback to the teachers about how the kids are doing. So that's been, air reading's the one. Yes.
Air reading is the one that gives the feedback
feedback
back.
side.
HAP is the one where we had some difficulties with the data at one time. Okay, all right. But kudos. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. I know there's a little feeling of people are not content with what's happening at this point in time with bilingual, non-bilingual, combos, no combos. I get it.
It's hard to see good teachers that have been there a long time go.
I understand. We're going to
Yeah.
get through this.
Yeah.
We'll get through it. We've
Okay.
been there before and we'll get through it again.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And now, thanks to my fellow board members approving a change in the agenda. We're going to approve this episode. Then we will move on. to
Make
the
a
next.
motion to approve.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the Garfield SIPSA? Aye. All right. And now we will be moving to 17.1 before we return to 13.3. So we have Charlie on with us to give a presentation, and I see you on video. Charlie can unmute. For Zoom reasons, he's showing as David Weekly, but obviously he's not me.
I tried to change the name. I thought you were joking about that, but there really is a changed name. But then when I did it, it didn't seem to change anything. So I don't know.
All right. Well, want to share your presentation?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm a technologist and have worked in education technology and video games for about 15 years. David asked me a couple of weeks ago about basically, is AI ready for helping meet goals such as what River City has for helping with literacy and numeracy goals. And I heard you all talking about the LPAC, the iReady, the CAST tests, and obviously you want to improve, those gaps. The answer is basically yes. AI is amazing, and as a technologist, I was very skeptical of it at first. And I actually want to re-highlight again the thing that we were saying about don't just give students the answer. And this is actually something that I struggled with in the last AI platform that I built, because AI loves to just give you the right answer, but that defeats the whole purpose. And so we actually had to build in a lot of prompt engineering into our product at the last company I was at to specifically make sure that the students are being helped to find the answer and hit that struggle at exactly the learning point. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and I'll go ahead and share my screen here and show you what I have. Give me just one moment to open that. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah, it's not in presentation mode, but we do see your slide.
Okay, I don't do this very often, so hopefully I can get it into the right mode here. Okay.
Perfect. You got it.
Great. So yeah, I'm going to talk about AI-powered literacy and numeracy. This is just a generic blueprint of how to sort of approach this problem and maybe give a little bit of color and context as to what's available, what's possible. So yeah, the answer is basically yes. The tools are there. There's a number of platforms and tools out there that are specifically designed to address exactly these issues. In my view, the main thing is you've got a bunch of students with a bunch of tasks that they want to do so that they can improve in class. And what happens is the students run into those blockers. The teacher has to address those blockers with individual students or at the lowest common denominator for the whole class, or they have to pick what they think is like the most the most common blocker for a group of students. It's clunky, it's slow, it doesn't have all the data all at once. So you have a many-to-one relationship of all these students creating the data of their answers, being right or being wrong or being somewhere in between. And then you have the teacher needing to absorb all of that data, interpret it, make a lesson plan, and all of that. And so basically what these platforms do is they enable a couple of things. Number one is that when the students are doing the task, they can get immediate feedback right away. So if they answer something right or wrong or halfway in between, the AI can give them immediate feedback without having to wait for the teacher, and then they can move on to the next thing, or they can retry the question again. Another one is adaptive learning. Obviously, it's a big one. You want the student to be hitting exactly sort of where their skill level is at. And also, all these platforms enable teachers to basically save a whole bunch of time by using AI. It doesn't have to be AI necessarily, but the platform helps to gather all the data that's happening, all of this, as these students are participating in whatever task that they're doing. And instead of the teacher having to guess or interpret or do the work to find out where students are struggling or where the most students are struggling, the platform sort of kicks that answer out right away, and they can see in a dashboard. They'll see like, okay, in period 3, 80% of students struggle with this one issue. And oftentimes the platform will also have an automatically generated lesson plan to address exactly that issue. So you're basically taking a process. It might take a few class sessions, and a lot of time for the teacher, and you're basically automating all of that, where they can jump straight to the intervention that matters the most for exactly the right group of students. So that's kind of what these platforms are offering. And there's different platforms out there. Obviously, there's a process to evaluate them and all that stuff. So the basic 4-stage approach, nothing new or magical here. Do some research. There's other districts who have tried to do similar things and are doing certain things with AI right now. And in fact, there's 2 states that are doing statewide initiatives to do AI-enabled improvements of reading and literacy and numeracy. So there's a lot of research to do. I'd also like to learn more about what Redwood Schools has done. It was great listening to Principal David talk about his experiences at Taft. I felt like there's so much to learn there about sort of things that work with, involving teachers and pilots and things like that. And then the discovery phase, we have to interview some teachers, some internal people, look at the vendors that are available. I'm getting ahead of myself because this is just the sort of overview slide. And then there's an actual pilot. Obviously, we'll do that for a few classrooms, see what's working, what's not, make a yes or no decision, and then finally do a rollout for the whole district. I think David mentioned something like a few years would be the expected horizon. I saw some slides earlier that were showing some really great improvements over like a 3-year horizon, so I think that's very reasonable. Okay, so as I was mentioning on the research phase, there are others that have done similar things. This is just a cursory glance at the research. Obviously, we can go deeper into these, but like San Diego, Los Angeles, Iowa, and Indiana have statewide initiatives doing similar things. And obviously, we'd also want to dig into some of the internal initiatives that the city has done as well, so you can kind of get a good view of what it would be looking like for rolling something like this out. The outcome of this phase is basically a playbook for doing the next phases. The next phase would be discovery. I again want to shout out to Principal David for how much the teachers were involved in all the processes. That's absolutely the way to set up a win for a rollout like this and a pilot like this. So a big part of that is discovering like which schools, which teachers are going to be interested in sort of supporting this. There's also obviously evaluating the hardware technology, making sure that you have the computers that would be needed, audio equipment, good enough bandwidth in the computer lab, or if it's in a student's in the classroom, if the Wi-Fi is good enough, making sure that there's available headphones. So a lot of them have like, microphones for speaking. So you have to have good microphone quality, making sure the headphones are all working, all of that good stuff. Mindset's a big one. I was very, very skeptical of AI when it came out, and I totally understand. A lot of people are skeptical, and for good reason. It's not a cure-all. It's not a magical wand, but it is at the same time a very powerful tool. So there's a lot of mindset questions there. And yeah, there's a couple of different vendors out there. These are just a handful of kind of the top ones that we could consider to solve, to approach both the numeracy and literacy goals. I would suggest doing 3 classrooms for a pilot, and the last 10 or 12 weeks. I also put one owner on here. I think it's really important for one person to be kind of running things behind the scenes for a pilot. Because it's very easy in any group, in any bureaucracy, or any school, it's easy for things to slip through the cracks or whatever. So I think it's really important to have one person sort of own that whole process, figure out what metrics you're going for. It sounds like you guys already have a very good idea of that, obviously, from the numbers that I saw in the previous slides for hitting those standards. And of course, there's going to be bugs and things that'll come up. You work with the vendors. This is going to be new technology. So, sort of triaging those and making sure that everything is going to be smoothed over and actually work for a rollout and things like that. And obviously collecting the data, right? You want to make sure that not just you want to hit the goals for the students to, pre and post tests and things like that, but also like the attitudes, the mindsets, making sure that this is something that, did the students buy into it? Did it work? Was it fun to do? How was the experience overall? That's, the qualitative data, you want to collect that as well. And finally, rollout. Yeah, we don't need to go deep into this. This is pretty far in advance, but basically the pilot will inform whether or not we would want to do a rollout for the whole district. Yeah, so that's basically it. I will open up the floor to questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Charlie. What are some of the vendors that you're seeing that are out there that are able to drive really meaningful literacy gains? Like, it'd be interesting to hear what you're seeing in terms of state of the art there.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I'm not an expert in what vendors are at what level. I can tell you, I just came from one of them, but it's pre-revenue, so we wouldn't be able to work with that vendor. And I can tell you that we were able at that company to build something very, very quickly. And one of our biggest competitors is actually a vendor that is, ready right now. They're called Snorkel. Um, in terms of their effectiveness, I would say it's surprisingly high. And when I'm just sort of comparing them to our platform because we pretty much had parity of features. And when we were doing our pilot interviewing teachers using the platform, we had a lot of aha moments. A lot of times teachers were like, this saves like a lot of time. Um, but I think there's a lot of research to be done here because all of these companies and the ones that have been around for a while, Dreambox and Khan Academy, for example, um, this specific technology of using AI in the classroom is still very new for them as well. Um, so I'm sorry, I can't really give you, you know, a, a more clear answer. I think there's a lot of research that needs to be done and interviews that need to be done with other customers of theirs to really see what the impact of value is. Because I don't think we should take it for granted because it's such a new technology.
At what grade are classrooms starting to adopt some of these tools at, like starting at what grade?
A very good question that I also don't have a clean answer for, but I will say that probably within the 4th to 5th grade range is where you most likely want to start to see successes. And the reason mainly being that you don't want technology to be a blocker as much. So when if you're putting, headphones and recording devices and all these, buttons and interactive UI in front of 2nd graders, you're going to struggle a lot more to get those kids to reach a level of computer literacy and proficiency to sort of engage with these platforms. That's not to say it can't be done. So I would say, probably 4th grade and up, I think would be a good target.
I don't have a question, but just for clarification, and I apologize, but when we move this item to where we are now, this was supposed to be an information
Yeah.
item, but
Yeah.
it's still an information
yeah,
item?
correct.
Okay,
It's
just want to
an-
make sure.
Just
Okay,
an informational
just clarification.
presentation.
Just information.
Perfect, thank you so much.
2 questions. One, I think you had a slide on a few districts where it looks like there's some AI adoption in this respect. Do you have a sense, like how many school districts, I guess specifically in California, roughly, like magnitude are we seeing kind of adopting this sort of technology? And when have they started? Like, is this over the first year? Like, we're still kind of in the pilot phase to get a sense of where things are, or how nascent is this rollout?
You guys are asking really great questions, ones that I don't feel like I have clear answers for. I'm not an absolute expert in this space. It's not my main thing. So I just want to make that clear. I have some visibility into it just because I worked for that company and I've been working in ed tech. Based on my cursory research, I would say you probably have just a handful, and it's still very nascent. So in the schools the districts that I listed before, San Diego, LA, I think it's very nascent still. It's definitely not something that you would see, in every classroom in every district. I think that they're testing the waters and maybe have been doing so for the last year or so. So they would be basically a year ahead of Redwood schools if you were to pursue a similar direction.
Yeah, and then other question was, apologies if this was in the slides, but end to end, do you have a sense of what the typical time frame is from like research to go no go decision?
It really depends on who's doing the research. I think it wouldn't take more than a week or two if you were dedicating, a few resources to that. It's the information's there. I guess to do, you want to do the interviews with those other districts and some of the people from, for example, Iowa, who have been doing statewide rollouts. So however long it takes to get those interviews and speak with them. So I would say on the order of like a few weeks for research. But also I don't work in a school district, so I know things may move differently. I come from a startup background, so maybe my knee-jerk reaction of just a few weeks, maybe that's more realistically 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much, Charlie, for the presentation. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It is almost 11 here, and I'm going to drop off.
All right. Appreciate you staying up late for us. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
And now to resume our regular programming, 13.3, our 2025-2026 second interim budget. Rick, I believe this is yours.
Good evening to the members in the audience and those viewing from remote locations. Tonight, we are presenting the 25-26 second interim budget. As the slide shows, this is step 7 of our annual budget cycle in preparation or containing information through January 31st of the current fiscal year. After presentation and hopefully approval tonight, it'll transition us from our second interim reporting period into our budget development for the 26-27 fiscal year, which will bring back to the board in June for the public hearing and adoption along with the LCAP at the same meetings. So very quickly, a familiar slide, the reporting requirements under Ed Code 42130, and in each interim report, the district does self-certify as either positive, qualified, or negative. We are again certifying as positive based on the financials that we will present tonight, along with the budget reductions that we did through the fall and winter with board approval occurring on February 4th that were incorporated into the second interim, which strengthened our current year, but really showed or allowed us to show solvency in our 2 required out years of 26-27 and 27-28. So on this, and I will say some of the slides look a little bit different and some of them don't necessarily align with style. We're still working on some AI hiccups back in the boiler room upstairs.
Line the bananas.
We're aligning the bananas. And we learned a lot. And by we, I mean me, from this presentation of how to get some similar looking slides throughout, but you'll still see slight differences in terms of format and styling. But I promise by the out year of this slide deck.
As long as none of the numbers are hallucinated, Rick.
None of the numbers are hallucinated. I did double check that because we did have a few of those on the first pass through. And references to other states' educational systems, which I still don't quite understand how that happened, but it did. But going back to the presentation for tonight, the budget assumptions have been updated since the first interim with any new available data or information we have, including using the governor's budget proposal that came out in January, along with forecasting from the LAO's office and UCLA, who is one of our key friends in determining CPI and COLA adjustments. Pension rates actually got a little bit better for PERS since the first interim report, our unduplicated count, and then our other factors that we make assumptions with on the 1.5% step and column annually. And right now we're still holding steady at 5% on property taxes in our out years. So looking at Fund 01, Fund 01 is our general operating fund, which the majority of our expenditures come from that run the school district on a day-to-day basis. Here you can see our 4 major sources of revenue: LCFF, federal, other state revenues, and our local revenues. And you can see the differences there. There are minor adjustments based on updated numbers from first interim. Here are our general fund sources of revenue. A little bit different slide. The pie chart is out for this presentation, but it is included in the book in case you were missing that. But this shows and significantly outlines that the majority of our funding comes from our property taxes, which makes up our LCFF funding, and then some other local revenues on here for a total revenue budget of $158+ million for 25-26. On the expenditure side, these have also been updated through January 31st for our salaries, benefits, book supplies, and services and other operating expenses. One thing that I've talked about with each of you as I've met individually is our new ERP system has really been a benefit to us through this by being able to capture mid-year savings on open positions or unfilled positions to a level of detail that we may not have been able to produce before with the old system. So we were able to recover some of those savings earlier than we would, I'll say, in a normal or traditional fiscal year based on the old system. So on here, you can see the differences in expenditures in our major groups. Here's a breakdown showing that about 76.4 at second interim percent of our expenditures are on people, salaries, and benefits. Exactly what we talked about earlier when we were talking about the CEA form and the audit. Everyone counts in here, though we don't exclude anyone from this calculation to show that, you know, over 3/4 of our money does go to that. Now, this number is likely to change as we bring back estimated actuals, as we total out contracts and true employee costs over the course of the year. But we are generally in line where most school districts in California are, somewhere in that, you know, 76+ to 80-81% of our expenditures are on personnel. The remainder is to turn the lights on and the other fun stuff that we do in the school district. So here, this one actually came out very well, I thought. The sand key diagram showing our revenues and expenditures with balanced revenues and balanced expenditures. As it noted, the fund balance contribution of 1.7 million on this slide. So we do have equal revenues and equal expenditures. Here, this is the legend for the next slide that breaks down what makes up classroom salaries, admin, and supervisors. In our classroom salaries, we do include more things than just teachers. Pretty much everyone that CA doesn't count in terms of touching students and helping them. So we look at our general fund expenditures broken down into those subgroups, which I will remind everyone those groups are not reflected in SACs. There are different parts of the SACs forms grouped together for illustration purposes during this presentation. So we can show that here are our teachers and classroom support versus, you know, our retirement outputs or expenditures on here. So it's just a graphical way to represent our expenditures for the district in 25-26 at second interim. So getting into the multi-year projection for 26 through 27-28. As noted previously, we have updated revenues and expenditures for our current year and then projected those out through our 2 required out years. On here in the highlighted in light blue, previously at first interim and at budget adoption, it said unidentified fiscal stabilization measures. And I want to give a lot of credit to the entire community, not just staff or not just the board, but the board along with staff, along with the community, the people who participated in the process starting either late August or right at the beginning of September of this current year, who went through the process of identifying and ultimately giving feedback and getting additional feedback from not only from their friends and family, but also schools, their school community, their school site councils, that were able to help us inform the decisions that were ultimately recommended to the board and approved on February 4th that are incorporated into this document where you see 6.0 million in 26-27 and subsequent reduction of 6.1 for 27-28. If you may recall, when we presented both at unaudited actuals and first interim, we identified about a $5.5 million reduction needed in 26-27 and a $3.5 million reduction in 27-28, which we had a peak next year and a little bit of a valley in terms of reduction need. And through the process of the fall, we identified almost all, if not all, ongoing reductions. So they carry forward over the 2 years, rather than identifying 3 years, 3 million or so of one-time savings and 3 million of ongoing cuts, trying to make sure 27, 28 was taken care of. We actually proposed and the board approved ongoing reductions through those 2 years. So we're going to see a benefit when I go to the next slide of what that means for fiscal stability for the long run. And so one other point is these numbers, large now as a single line item, 6 million, 6.1 million. When we come back with proposed budget for 26, 27, those will not be on there any longer, and they'll be appropriately reduced in the areas that they are directly tied to salary and benefits, books and supplies, and contracts and other operating expenses. So going to the ending fund balance of this, you can see in each of the 3 years, starting with the current year, we are meeting the minimum reserve for economic uncertainty, 3.51, 3.74, and 5.81. Some of that from this year is the savings that we said we would save through the budget committee. I know there's a longer name for it, but we'll go with budget committee. And then some of the savings that we were able to find through the new system that benefited the current year. As we look forward, it's really the reductions that were approved. And the big jump from 3.74 to 5.81 is attributed to what I had just mentioned. We had ongoing reductions for 26, 27 that carried forward to 27, 28. At first interim, we needed 3.5 million to be fiscally solvent. And so we're carrying forward almost 3 million or a little over $3 million more than that, which is bumping or raising our total reserve to 5.81%. So this is all positive news and puts us on firmer ground, especially being a basic aid district where some funding can fluctuate based on property tax receipts on an annual basis. This certainly helps stabilize us and have a positive outlook, no pun intended, with positive certification going into 28, 29, which will come forward at budget adoption. Our 3 years will change, and we'll introduce the new out year in June. Going into other fund summary, these have been updated with our expected ending fund balances. And you can see the difference between adopted budget through second interim on all of the other funds, of most importance on here. They're all important, but child development, which is our CDCs and child care. Fund 13 is our child nutrition services. And Fund 21 is our bond fund.
Not a lot of money set aside for deferred maintenance.
No. So these are the same areas to monitor. Nothing's changed since first interim. Local revenue, we just spoke about rising costs, enrollment. We still need to watch that closely. Facilities, staffing, and then any new policies that may come that impact us in any way. So with that, I've already mentioned we transition now into budget development, and then we'll come back in June with the two of us presenting both the LCAP and the budget for first at the public hearing and then for adoption at the third meeting in June. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board.
No, nothing really surprising there. I mean, it's pretty much what we were expecting to see. It kind of followed through with the first term and sort of where you've been steering us, which is a great thing for a budget. It means that we're doing predictable forecasting. And I want to echo your thanks to the advisory committee and to Dr. Baker's leadership through bringing the community along, through identifying the stabilization methods and really trying to keep them for the most part. We heard about the value of the guest teacher. I know that that's still one that hit there, but really trying for the most part, keeping it away from the classroom and directly impacting students that way. And we can see how that makes a difference in stabilizing the projected outlook for the budget. So thanks to you and your office. I'm glad to hear that the new system after the toil of migrating to it is reaping benefits. So that's good to hear too. Thanks.
What I didn't see in here, and just I'm hoping you can use very small words to explain this to me, is I've been hearing some scuttlebutt about like what's happening with VLF and how that could impact our budget. I just wonder if you not relevant.
There will be no impact from VLF.
Great. Okay, that's a wonderful
And just
deal.
for reference, that's vehicle license fees that the county does not receive.
Got it. So no impact to budget. Okay.
And still currently not receiving, but it is not coming out of school budget as far as we understand.
Thank you so much. That'll help me sleep better at night. Other questions about budget? No. Okay. Good work, Rick. Good work, community, on getting us to a balanced budget.
It's an action item.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
Let's take an action. Let's approve the second interim budget. Would you like to move?
I'll make a motion to approve. Yeah.
I will second.
All those in favor of approving? Aye. Well done. Okay. Moving on now, drone policy. Yeah, on this one, I think I had been the one to kind of make a stink and I had a bunch of comments, but I'm actually very pleased with the edits that I see here. I feel like they acknowledge the FAA's exclusive jurisdiction over the airspace, and they also open the door to making it easy for STEM teachers to safely use ultralight, less than 0.55 pound drones without a lot of paperwork. So I'm good with what I see here. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the policy committee. I thought it was a really good job of like doing the first reading, the feedback and things like that. And I know we're going to go through a bunch of policies tonight because a lot of them we don't have to have like any kind of material comments, but it's good to see the system working. And I know it's not easy, but it's good job. It's great.
Go policy.
I just wanted to say one little plug for that too. Regarding policies, huge feat last week about going through all those board policies. So thank you for everyone for being very conscientious and giving feedback. But this particular one, kudos go to Jennifer and David. I think I was sick one night. There was chatter here at the board meeting and everything was captured so beautifully in the record keeping, and then the homework and the research done by the board, by these two specifically, was really nice. So thank you for, that's our team in board policy.
Bravo, you two.
So thank you for that.
I've got just a question on. So if we're pulling something out for second reading and then we're going to put it back onto consent.
Yeah, I think because we were in an awkward moment with this board policy, particularly with some of the changes and so forth and the discussion. Yes, in the next round, well, actually it will be April 22nd. It will come back officially just with the timing of submissions of board memos. So it will be April 22nd. We'll go back on consent like the other ones in our new process. This one was lingering from January.
So anything even like, so anything that's on consent for second reading, if it gets pulled for discussion, we'll just go back onto consent that follows.
Correct.
Got it.
That's our plan. We'll see how that goes. It's an experiment.
Right.
Thank you.
Just say two things, one on this policy, one on the broader comment. One on this policy, I'm glad that this is well received. I'll say that we reached out to CSBA several times. This is not, we did not get a response from them, so did our best. I think it makes sense. That ties a little bit into the next comment, which is like, I'm so glad to hear that you're glad, you feel comfortable with this process. I will say, as has been alluded to, there's a lot of policies that went through really quickly. Give us grace. This will be an iterative process. We did our best. I'm sure that there will be times when we're like, we should make an edit to that, and I'm certainly not going to take offense. But wanted to preview that and just say thank you again in advance for exercising grace.
Doing great. Sweet. So there's no action here because it's going to go into consent later. Okay, great. So high fives all around. Lots of great work, policy team. Go policy. Okay. Now 15, on to other consent items, and there are a lot of them, 27 of them, in fact. Field trips, second readings of policies, minutes, meetings approval. We approve all of these in one go. As a reminder, just because something's in our consent agenda does not mean it's unimportant. It just means that we may have already reviewed it or it's unobjectionable, and we'd like to focus our limited time together on substantive matter requiring presentation and discourse. Any board member at the change of agenda segment of the meeting can request an item be pulled from consent to discuss. Anyone like to move that we approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful, thank you. Board and superintendent reports. Who'd like to report out? Excellent, thank you.
I attended the DLAC meeting this past Monday at Hoover Library. We had some parents online and some parents present. And Catherine went over compliance. It's something that must be done. And went over what the compliance with teachers and instructional aids requirements were. So that was like the meaty topic. So that was the only, everything else was normal, but this is like the meaty thing that happened. And then our next meeting will not be until May. Yeah. I couldn't see how many people were online because I was not on a computer, but there was 2 couples. I was actually and I gave kudos to the man that were there because usually it's a woman that show up. So it was 2 couples and an individual and then they were with their kids too. And we had somebody to watch them and food.
Thank you. Other?
Kind of tangential related to Redwood City, engaged in the CSBA Legislative Action Week, meeting with our state representatives. There's a number of bills, as there are every year, affecting education. A number of them really trying to centralize some of the governance pieces and accountability at the state level. I think they're positive. All of the senators and assembly members that I met with, they actually showed up. So that was great. It seems like there's an appetite within our county to take up the issue of education, which is great. And then also had a San Mateo County School Board Members Association Legislative Action Committee meeting where some overlap of bills were decided on advocacy for same stuff, just trying to push forward support for our students.
Excellent, thank you. Mike, anything? No? Jennifer, anything? Cool. I wanted to take a moment just to share out a project that I've been working on as a side project. It's an early experiment, and just for me personally, it is not an authorized or official work product of the district. It may have material errors and deficiencies. It's a website called rcsd.info. And this pulls together public information about our district into one place. It's got 189 board meetings going back to 2019 with 7,810 agenda items, 4,546 attachments, and 153 linked YouTube video recordings with searchable transcripts and play-along agendas so that you can find exactly when a topic was discussed and who said what. There are pages for all 12 of our schools with demographics, test scores, PTO info, lunch menus, budget information, site presentations, and more. It's all from public data. It's all available in both English and Spanish. It's machine readable as JSON. It's open source, and there's even an MCP server so you can hook your favorite chatbot up to it and start asking questions about the district. It's all hosted on Cloudflare, so it's lickety-split, and it doesn't need a login. I want to emphasize that this is not an official district site. I built it on my own time using only publicly available records, where I've used AI tools to generate meeting summaries or map topics to video timestamps that's clearly labeled. Every piece of data links back to its original source, board docs, Simbly, CDE, YouTube, and all the code, like I mentioned, is open source on GitHub if you want to take a look at it or suggest improvements. I built this because I think transparency works best when information is actually easily defined. Our district publishes a lot of data, but it's spread across multiple systems, and this is an attempt to bring it together in one spot to make it accessible for our full community. So the website is now live at rcsd.info, and I would welcome feedback from the community, from staff, and from my fellow board members. Cool. You have anything to report out? Okay. 17.2, we'll review the audit report for Connect, one of our district's charter schools. This is informational, so I don't believe there's a presentation attached. It's just noting that it is there. Okay. 17.3, we'll note a report out here on a grant the district received for $899,000 from the state to improve attendance for vulnerable students. Okay, 17.4, we will note the treasury returns for the cash that we hold with the county, and returns were 3.89%. With that, we will move on to correspondence received. Did anyone receive any notable correspondence they'd like to share with the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Do people have other business or suggested items for future agendas? And just as a reminder for members of the public, this is the one where you can take a look at the attachment and you can see what we're planning to talk about when. Any suggestions for future? Oh, Jennifer.
Just everybody got the email from Wendy about the policy topics for August.
Yes, there are a stack of policies coming our way. Lots of hard work from lots of people. Cool. All right. And with that, we'll move on to reflection. So what went well, what didn't go well with tonight's board meeting?
I like the new policy format. I think a lot of them, we end up not having anything really to discuss, that they're either pro forma or they're minor updates to the thing to just capture ed code. And I think this is a really efficient way to do it. It's a lot. It's a lot to get through over the weekend, but you know, as I went through, and if they're minor questions, you know, there's easy access to be able to ask and get them cleared up. So I think that's a really good innovation.
Just wanted to add, the April 1st one is a little bit more difficult to your point, but all the April 22nd ones are already up. So
Okay.
happy reading.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if that's an April Fool's joke or if it's for real, but let's see what's coming up on that. I thought the school presentations were great. We really kept it on time. They went through the presenters were under their 15 minutes. We were under our 15 minutes. I think that those went really well. I have to say that information item made me really uncomfortable. It's, you know, when it gets down to program rollout and program selection, I sort of feel like that's totally in the hand of the superintendent and the professionals. It's not something that the board should be deciding to do. So it left me feeling a little uncomfortable as that was going on.
That's good feedback. Thank you.
I'll echo. I think the school presentations, I feel like we're in a good cadence now. And I know there's a lot of work that's gone into it, but like super productive. And I feel like we're in a good spot right now. Like always room for improvement, but I feel like I'm able to focus on kind of all the salient points a lot easier. So just really appreciate that.
Amen.
I think doing 2 versus 3
Oh yeah.
was
Okay. Well,
And we'll have one in
yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that helped too is they actually, not necessarily that the other schools have actually read the goals, but they actually said, I'm skipping the goals, and then they went, you know, to the meeting. So maybe that helped too. So maybe you might want to tell the rest of the schools to, you know, avoid that piece. So same thing, I enjoy the presentations, to the point of board policies. When you said lucky reading, that is a conversation that I've had with John, and I was like, there are so many. And as school board, that is like our #1 kind of job. And I was like, that is a lot of reading. So I did say that I would perhaps appreciate if instead of having like 20 something, maybe if we could reduce it. And I mean, maybe if we don't even get it down to the end of the school year, but if we move forward even onto next school year. So that was my personal comment. And, you know, I did tell him, this is just me. You could talk to the rest of the board. So that was my comment. And then with the information item, that was, it made me feel a little, that's why I asked the clarifying question, because it felt more like it was a pitch. And so I leave it at that.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate your.
My first attempt trying to bring in some outside experts to help provide additional information, and it didn't go exactly as I was hoping. So learning experience for me, and I'll take that feedback to Charlie and also keep in mind when trying to bring in other outside speakers as well. So.
And I think obviously this is new and I'm just gonna speak for myself, but if they stick to just the information, that would have been it. But when it was the
Yeah.
rollout, same thing, that's when it just felt like,
I'm with you.
yeah, so
Nope.
just FYI.
Yep. Very good feedback. Thank you.
Can I just put a plug on the policy piece? I know it's a lot. I I think we have to acknowledge that it's a lot because we haven't updated it in like a systematic way, I think for longer than we probably should have. And so I would advocate for doing it kind of in bulk because already we've had situations where we've looked at a policy and there's already been an update through CSBA. And so it becomes a really difficult piece where if we don't do them in an expeditious manner, we're going to have a longer period where we're going to have more because there's just continuously more updates. Yeah, it's a quarterly update. So and then there's special updates. So like, and that's not to say that we have to take them all on. It's just that there's a volume that is regular and there's regular cadence to it. So something to be mindful of. The other piece, and I think part of why it was really why we advocated for having the format where we try to clarify where it's been like a specific CSBA piece is because yes, like this is a core responsibility of the board to have these. At the same time, they don't have to be written in stone. And so for me, I think it's really important to make sure that we have the baseline of compliance, which is like the ed code pieces. And if we come across pieces where there's an instance where something comes up and we're like, we should really change that policy, that is something that we can come to again. That's on stone. But I do worry that if we put things off for too long, we were never going to get over the hurdle. So that is my.
I'm just curious, like the dotted lines here in terms of where this is going is feels absurd. Like we'll be sitting here in 2030 and every meeting we're going to have 473 new policies to go and approve that CSBA live stream to us. So like am I perceiving things correctly that there's an increased volume that goes beyond just working through a backlog and that there's just a generally larger volume of policies we're expected to be updating and adding and churning on?
So I think it's relatively rare for CSBA to introduce a whole cloth new policy. Like that happens. Like I think actually one of them that we went over through MGA. Like anytime there's a new statute, that can be an opportunity.
Sure. Yeah.
But that is not the majority of the cases here. I think most of them are either updates to existing policies that we have, or they're new policies to us, but there have been versions that just we haven't adopted for whatever reasons in the past. So I think we're looking at a relatively finite universe of 200 policies like to go through now. And then from there on, each quarter, maybe there's like, I don't think more than 20 policies. There might be ARs, but there's at any given quarter, there's not typically more than 20 policies that come up.
There's some spring cleaning order 200, and then there's quarterly 20 or so.
Yes.
And that's the right mental models. We got this backlog of 200 and then 20 a quarter they're out.
That's how I have it in my head. I hope that's right, but
I'm getting thumbs up from Wendy. So
Yeah, that's exactly right.
okay. Yeah.
Right.
Where we're getting policies like trickling in.
Exactly. And so when David mentions 20, and they may not even all apply to a K district, it could be high school as well, but on the handout that comes out from CSBA, it is quarterly and it's about that number. Now, that doesn't mean there's other back work to do, or if the board has a special interest to look at something like the AI one's a perfect example on that note tonight, because I just learned a new update's coming July 1st. So now we're in this weird moment where staff development's going to come back working on ARs. And then here we go with CSBA again. So once in a blue moon, those things pop up. But in general, I think we're going to be in great shape. We just need to get through the bulk.
Okay.
So it's just the pacing of it.
All right. Dr. Baker.
With the reading of them all, I had mentioned to Cecilia, it's a possibility if you wanted to have a study session and you can get some, knock them out. So that way you're not, because we have board reports coming and then other items along the way.
I also just wanted to add, my office is in the next week putting all of them on through June 30th. So at your leisure, maybe 10 a week you read, or I was trying to figure out the best way to give you a runway on this, although April 1st is crazy. It's a lot in a short period of time because we had to meet the deadline for Evelyn in the short turnaround. But in general, it's paced a little bit better. And we're not going to put any new ones on, except maybe the May checklist that comes out might have a few, but in general. So just if you sort of look at it that way, if you maybe pace it in a different way, that might be a little bit more palpable.
So is that something that the board wants to do, is to have basically just a study session, a special board meeting just for jamming through policies so that we don't have super late meetings when we have, say, like 3 school board
They're
report?
coming. They're coming.
Yeah. So just how do we clear room so that we don't end up having meetings that go crazy late? Are people willing to go and have like one study session that's just like policy study session? Just thumbs up, thumbs down? I'm just looking to poll the room here.
The policy discussion won't get too long during the board meeting unless a bunch get pulled out of consent.
Sure.
So it's more of a matter of, we want to read them all at our own time, or do we want to sit together to read them?
So it's just setting aside the time to read is then the question. Okay. Okay.
I mean, and for sure, it could be a lot. So like for this agenda, although there were so many, if you look at the attachments, about every board policy was like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, but there's some board policies are like 16 pages. Just for one. So for me, and I'm only speaking personally, I like to read them because I like to approve what I'm reading. And I don't want to just scan through them. And it feels to me like we're being dumped with 200 board policies. And I feel the pressure, at least for me, as far as time flexibility and just juggling between, full-time job and this other full-time job. It's a lot for me. But again, that's just me. And
I hear you that it's a lot. I think the question is like, how do we, if the question is, where do we find the time? Is a study session the right format, or just like we each find time on our own, however we can, to go and review?
Or the other thing is, and I did mention this to John, is I get it that we haven't approved board policies that have been approved by CSBA, but can we just move forward with some at a time and eventually we'll get to them? Whether we want to, so every quarter we get, let's just say, I'm going to say the number 10. We get 10 every quarter. We'll work on those 10, not necessarily that they have to come in all at once, but maybe we'll get some from this quarter and some that have not been approved for, a long time, and incorporate them to just that they're not like 20 with 15 to 20 pages each. But just a thought.
Some are quite short. To Cecilia's ask, we could probably figure out a mix.
So I'm hearing a request to policy committee to try and keep the policies that are coming in front of the board at a somewhat paced measure so that we don't have like one board meeting that's got like 200 policies, except for April 1st is going to be a violation of that intent. But
April's going to be a little tough.
Yeah.
And we grouped them by sort of department so that the director could be here for any questions that popped up. That was our intent. Doesn't have to be that way, but HR is a killer. So I'm not going to lie. There's a lot for HR. We even pulled exhibits because they're not required for the board to approve, but there's going to be about 55 to go through during the month of April in totality between both meetings. But then it gets a little bit easier, like Ed Services this next month, and they have about, 30 total. So, we tried to organize it as such.
And we're trying to get through the HR policies because we also want to update the handbook.
And the required notices for parents. It would just be great to be able to send it all out that was accurate and updated versus sending the parents something in April and then sending them again to the parents. I think it would be confusing. So that was our intent.
All right. Any other meeting reflections?
Wait, sorry, did we come to a conclusion
There's no
about?
conclusion yet.
Yeah, we have not concluded about what
Okay.
the path forward is, right? I mean, I won't speak for Jeff. For me, I'm a little bit indifferent. I've read all the policies, so it's a little bit more on how you guys feel comfortable about it. If the question is, there's like a finite number of how many policies at any given meeting you feel is appropriate, we can do that math. But I think that, again, I would remove myself from that.
I'm not sure we're going to come up to a conclusion. After all, we're just reflecting.
Yeah,
We're not
that's right.
concluding things here. So I think that perhaps the policy committee and perhaps the superintendent in their one-on-ones can take this reflection and sort of craft up a direction of what you think is the right thing to do for bringing these forward to the board in the future. And if it is go through sprint on in bulk, then just tell us that's what it is and put it in. But I think we have reflected.
We have reflected.
And,
Thank you,
yeah.
Mike. Okay. Any other reflections from you? No. Okay. All right. Calendar. So next week, April Fool's Day, we've got closed session at 6 and then a big media board meeting. It sounds like at 7. 22nd, we've got closed and then regular, and then 13th is regular. And so that's what's teed up on the calendar. And with that, I think we move on to adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.